Um, yep. So, hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our seminar today. To show respect to the presenter, I'd like to ask if you could please mute yourself during the presentation. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat box below, or you can wait until the end of the presentation to unmute yourself and ask the doctor during the Q&A session. So today we have Dr.Ales Aliashkevich, who's a neurosurgeon. So Dr. Aliashkevich is a progressive and conservative neurosurgeon committed to providing the highest level of care and expertise in a dedicated, personalized way. He is qualified in using a variety of state-of-the-art robotic and image-guided navigation systems, motion-preserving spine surgery, and minimally invasive approaches. His expertise combined with advanced technology allows performing keyhole procedures with a high level of precision, reducing the risk of complications and improving patient outcomes. Now over to you, Dr. Aliashkevich.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction, Sophie. I just share my screen to start the presentation and give you a brief introduction on this topic. So I'm Ales Aliashkevich, a neurosurgeon based in Melbourne. My medical legal work began back in 2003 when I was completing my neurosurgical qualifications in Germany. And as part of this process, I was required to write 5 impairment assessment reports. Initially, I thought it would be a boring task, but then a mix of clinical judgment and legal logic fascinated me more than I initially anticipated. I can still recall my very first report because it involved analyzing consequences of a brain injury sustained by a client who had arguably one of the most intriguing jobs I ever encountered. He was a professional wine taster, a part of an elite panel responsible for awarding prestigious medals to European wines. And following a transport accident, he suffered a head injury. Remarkably, he recovered well neurologically, except for one devastating outcome. He experienced complete loss of his senses of smell and taste. And as many of you may know, olfactory nerve fibers are incredibly delicate and can be damaged even with a modest skull-based trauma. And this deficit had a profound impact on the client's life and career. After all, what is a sommelier without the ability to taste or smell the wine? It has both a tragic and eye-opening case that highlighted the effects of neurological injuries, not just on clients' health, but also on identity and their lovely life. Fast forward to today, and we're diving into another fascinating topic, the role of artificial intelligence in medical legal assessments. AI has rapidly evolved over the past few years and became more sophisticated and widely accessible. Its potential applications for medical legal field are really promising. So I thought it might be interesting to share my perspective of how AI might fit into our work and into the future of medical legal reporting. So as you know, in January, New South Wales Supreme Court published a note regulating AI use in medical legal practices. So the new rules that must be followed after 3rd of February indicated that AI must not be used to prepare reports without prior court approval. And program and version and the benefits to be derived from the program and the documents which will be submitted to the program for analysis. As a potentially allowed scenario, the Supreme Court listed analysis of large volumes of data or conducting statistical analysis. The report must also disclose which part was prepared using AI and which program was used. So as a full disclosure for my presentation today, I want to mention that all of the illustrations in this presentation have been generated using DALL-E 3, the latest version of image generation program with OpenAI tools. In cases where the reports did not rely on AI, we also need to include a corresponding statement about it. Interestingly, the court made a final remark that it will review the legislation about AI in the future, given its rapidly developing nature. So now let me go into the details about what implications might AI bring to us medical legal experts in the future. I want first to take you through the real heart of the matter, the challenges that medical legal experts may face. Let's start with the sheer volume of data that we deal with. The average case file that I receive these days is about 500 to 700 pages, but it's not uncommon to encounter files even larger than that, exceeding 1,000 pages, accompanied by 20 to 30 radiological investigations and reports. And because we're all human, mistakes happen. Sometimes entire documents meant for one client can get into the mix of documents for another client, and it can be a labyrinth of information and findings. Finding the critical details often feels like looking for a needle in a haystack. And then there are also radiological and neurophysiological investigations. Typically, we are provided with radiologist reports, but it's up to the experts to retrieve the actual images, review them, and interpret them in relevant context. And this process isn't always straightforward, especially when relevant images are missing or incomplete. Clients themselves can be add to the complexity of history taking. They're also humans with memories that can be unreliable, especially after traumatic events, and many have pre-existing conditions, multiple injuries, and a history of treatments or surgeries that create a tangled web of information. Piecing all the information together in accurate chronology may become a time-consuming exercise. Apart from this, medical legal experts, we're also human, and we aren't immune to biases, and conflicting opinions are common. It's not because we're incompetent, but because the medical legal landscapes we navigate are incredibly complex. We deal with a patchwork of legislations across the country in different states, and with different approaches. For example, different insurers have their own assessment guidelines. The Transport Accident Commission in Victoria has its own framework called SIGMED for impairment assessment, while ComCare and WorkSafe in Victoria require their own different legal approaches. In New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, and other states, assessments often rely on variant editions of American Medical Association guides, with insurers adding their amendments in the mix. And on top of that, court rulings set precedents that must be considered in our evaluations. So as you can see, the medical legal work isn't just about medical expertise and knowledge. It's about navigating a complex and ever-evolving intersection of health law and human behavior. So now, let me take you through some of these challenges in greater detail. And along the way, we probably will explore some future applications for artificial intelligence and whether there could be some solutions suitable to our practice. So in dealing with these large volumes of documents, maybe AI can analyze and summarize extensive medical report and provide very brief and concise chronology for the experts and for the court. As you know, we also have records that are fully legible with often mix-ups, and AI can potentially convert handwriting and scribbles into readable text and maybe potentially organize them into data chronologically. As I already mentioned, some wrong and mixed up information in the clients might be applicable for AI to be analyzed and identified, help identify mismatched records. AI can potentially also compare reported symptoms by the clients with historical records and help us detect any inconsistencies. When dealing with multiple injuries, AI might potentially analyze progression and correlate with them with the specific incidents and procedures. AI might potentially also help distinguishing fine nuances between the natural degeneration and possible work-related or injury-related aggravation of pre-existing conditions, and also disentangle multiple complex and multisystemic conditions like, for example, chronic pain, fibromyalgia, spinal injuries, musculoskeletal problems, and others. In the future, maybe AI will help us detecting subtle radiological abnormalities that the human eye can sometimes miss on the scans, because again, the current radiological investigations involve hundreds of images in one data set, and obviously scrolling through all the images and detecting subtle changes can be challenging for radiologists. And also comparing the previous old images with the new images can be a challenging task, and maybe AI can help us reviewing the historical imaging and identify whether there was a significant injury progression. Apportioning different injuries and different conditions can also be a major challenge, and AI may possibly help us assisting with a fair apportionment calculations based on the case history. Sometimes our reports and requests include hour-long surveillance images, and AI can potentially review the images at a fast speed, maybe for key moments, movements, reducing need to manually sit in front of the computer screen and watch hours of these videos. AI maybe potentially can apply and help identifying correct legal frameworks based on jurisdictions for the case. I would probably see in the future AI helping with disentangling mental health conditions from organic cerebral injuries, and also other challenging tasks like employment capacity assessments based on medical and job data. Comparing opinions from different experts and in different situations can be also useful in the future for the AI, as well as analyzing pain and disability complaints, which are always subjective. AI might also help us with literature through literature search, but on the other hand, we should be aware of this issue with hallucinations mentioned by the court. I will give you a few examples with later on on the next few slides. So altogether, I think the AI might potentially help us with providing reports faster in the future, saving time on routine tasks. But again, it will need to be under strict legislation and within the frameworks provided by the court. Now let's talk about the vulnerabilities, which are quite considerable at the moment, and these are the things that basically prohibit using AI in the current scenarios. So first of all, we talk about challenges and ethical considerations. Can AI-generated findings be accepted, let's say, by the court in the future as an expert evidence? At the moment, there is no sign that the court will adopt anything more than literature or statistics search. But with the literature, it's a major concern, because there were a few cases where companies and lawyers submitted cases to the court that were based on fake quotes and citations created by AI. Like, for example, the case of Levida firm in the US, when they provided multiple fake opinions, and obviously they were later on punished for that. The AI can also make potential errors in analyzing all the data. It can be errors in chronology, and not only in medical assessments, but also interpreting scans and neurophysiological tests. Here in Melbourne, there was a case when the lawyer generated inaccurate list of legal authorities and submitted them to Melbourne Federal Circuit and Family Court last year. More recently, an Australian lawyer used ChatGPT to write court filings in an immigration case, and he was referred to a state legal complaints commission after immigration minister highlighted 17 cases cited in the document that did not exist. The AI can also pose significant challenges to our data privacy, and AI use must be compliant with Australian Privacy Act from 1988. Therefore, any legal firms or medical legal experts pretty much have to use local language models without submitting the data to servers overseas, or even any other servers. And obviously, this local language models, they cannot compete with online technology in terms of accuracy and speed. The question of informed consent is another delicate issue. Obviously, if we ask the clients whether they would be happy for their data to be analyzed by AI, I think majority will say no to that proposal. So the AI is obviously learning and adapting to our practice a lot. I think it would be probably revised in the future, the legislation framework. And at I asked for the AI to large AI providers, OpenAI and DeepSeek, the AI in the future, and it gave actually very good detailed answers in both situations, both outlining all the concerns and compliance rules that we need to follow. And in the future, actually, ChatGPT gave a very nice conclusion that the future will be a balancing act, embracing the efficiency of AI while preserving the integrity of the legal process. And the AI will not replace the legal experts, but those who embrace AI responsibly will outpace who don't. And the future belongs to those who can harness technology while upholding legal standards. I think it's a very sensible note from ChatGPT. also recognizing that human expertise will remain critical, and AI will be there probably to enhance but not to replace our expert judgments. So this is the conclusion of my presentation. I think if some viewers will have any comments, that would be very interesting to read them in the link below, or to contact you with any questions. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yep. Thank you, Dr. Aliashkevich, for a very comprehensive presentation. Since this will be published on YouTube, if there are any questions, we will definitely relay back to you. But thank you so much for the presentation, and yeah, it was a really good, very comprehensive one.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.